So, I want to talk about a topic, and this may seem kind of odd, but it came up yesterday. So, just to familiarize you with what yesterday was, I have the PBT Institute membership community, and one of my favorite parts is that every week I host a weekly coffee chat where everybody just comes and it's a Q&A and they bring their questions, and I get to just to hear what's going on with everybody and just give whatever insight I can and hear what's going on with them. And it's just an amazing, amazing time to connect. So yesterday, one of the questions that came up was about how do you know when you're trying to identify, let's say there's a negative thought and we don't want to run from it, but how do you know when you've kind of thought about it as much as you can? And I titled this Indulging in Negative Thoughts because here's what happens. We don't want to run from it. Of course, you hear me say this all the time, face it, feel it, heal it, and that's so important. But then there comes a point where we've faced it, we've gone down that rabbit hole so many times, coming out with no new information than the last 1,000 times we've done it. For example, let's just take food, and let's just say you binge on potato chips. And you know what happens when you walk over to that cabinet and grab the potato chips. At some point, you're going to reach the bottom of the bag. It happens every single time. So as you're walking towards the cabinet to grab the potato chips, you want to ask yourself, what am I doing? What will be the result of this action? We've done this so many times, right? And you want to stop and question yourselves. When it comes to something traumatic, like healing from betrayal, it's the same thing, but on a much bigger scale, because you definitely want to feel those feelings, because there's no way to heal from them unless and until you face them and you feel them. But at what point have you felt them enough? And now it's almost an indulgence. And indulgence sounds so mean, but here's why it's an indulgence. Once you've thought about it often enough, what happens is you're creating these neural connections, these loops in your brain, and like tracks in your brain, and they become hardwired. Like if you pour water down rocks, it will travel down the same path over and over and over again, and eventually it becomes a very well-worn path. Same thing. Let's imagine a snowy day, right? And then who wants to think of snow now, though, right? But let's just imagine a snowy day, and you walk outside and you pave a path, right? And let's just say that path takes you nowhere, but you walk on that path day after day after day. Eventually, it's really well worn, right? But maybe it's not taking you anywhere you want to go. Now, if you were to venture off that path and make a decision where you've said, I've been down that path 100, 1,000 times, and it's not taking me anywhere I want to go, what would happen if I go down, go in this direction? And then you think, well, I don't know what that looks like, right? But then you decide, and this is decision here, which is so important in this, you make a decision, well, you know what? I'm not sure exactly what it'll lead me to, but it's got to lead me so much to a much better place than this predictable path to somewhere I don't like. So you make that decision and you start to carve that new path for yourself. And yes, it's bumpy, and you may slip and you may fall and you're not sure. There's fear, there's uncertainty, there's all of that. But here's the thing. If you ruthlessly commit and say, it doesn't matter. I am dedicating myself and my time to walk on this path, and I will not go on that other path again. Eventually, think about it. That new path will be as well worn as the first. But now it's taking you somewhere potentially so much better and so much more aligned with who you're becoming and where you want to go. I hope that makes sense. So when it comes to the negativity of your betrayal experience or any traumatic experience, right? You're thinking about D-Day, Discovery Day. You're thinking about even a negative exchange you had with someone, and you revisit it over and over and over and over again. You and only know when it's enough, when you've extracted as much sense and as much meaning as you can from it. And when you do, then at that point you say, okay, now going down this path, because I've done it so often, it's not bringing me anywhere new. So from this day forward, I'm not going to allow for that. And I'm not going to do it because it's affecting my health. It's affecting my healing. It's affecting everything about where I want to go. So once you've made that decision, that's great. But what do? Well, you want some real practical insight here? That's just about what I'm going to give you. So let's say you've made that decision. Here's what works so well for people in the community and my clients and things like that. Not when you need it. When you are in a good space, what you want to do is you want to think up the most amazing picture, right? That gives you a sense of peace and calm, either a scenario, a situation, an image, just some sort of visual, right? Like it could be a beautiful sunset, a beautiful sunrise. It could be a scene with someone you love. If you have kids, with your kids. If you have pets, with your pets, whatever it is for you. You want to picture that scene. And now you want to infuse it with as much color and emotion and using every sense you have to make it so bold, so bright, so vibrant. Once you have that image and that feeling, you want to lock it into your mind. It is so bold, so bright, so vibrant, and you can just call it up whenever you need to. Okay? So once you have that picture, lock it in your mind. Now, when you're going about your day and then you're either triggered or you're reminded of something painful or something. Now, remember again, you're deciding when you're just indulging in that negativity and following that tape loop that's been created and that track that doesn't bring you anywhere you want to go. Having said that, so we're not numbing, avoiding facing something. This is when you've done it enough times and it's truly time for something different. So you have that picture that you've created in your mind. You brought up all the colors and the every sense you can, the emotion that it makes, how it makes you feel, all of that, right? You have that. Now, something happens in your day, right? And it's triggering that go-to response, taking you down that rabbit hole of negativity, and it's going to affect everything and that you do after that, right? You're not going to be happy when you see whoever you're going to see, or it's going to affect who you speak with, and it's going to affect what you do. It may impact what you're eating, because now you're like, it's just a bad spiral that's going on. The second you feel that, what you want to do is, before that also, just put like a rubber band or something on, right? Just something as some sort of reminder. The second you feel that, you can snap the band. It's not to hurt you, it's to remind you. Rub the band, whatever it is. Flick your wrist, whatever it is for you. And that's your signal to, at that point, stop yourself from going down that slippery slope you've been down a million times. So you rub the band, snap the band, tap your wrist, whatever it is for you. And then either say the words out loud in your head, whatever it is, stop, cancel, redirect, whatever it is for you. And then from that, and right from that space, now you insert that image. Remember the image that you created ahead of time? You insert that image, because here's what's going on. It's impossible to think of two things at the same time, right? So you feel that feeling, you know where it's going to take you. You've made a decision. At this point, I'm not willing to indulge in that anymore. It doesn't help me. It only brings me down further. It's preventing the healing that I deserve. You snap the band, snap your wrist, tap it, whatever, rub it, whatever works for you. You say in your head out loud, depending on where you are, cancel, stop, no, whatever it is. And you insist on picturing that image, playing it out with all of the the feelings, the emotions, seeing the bold, vibrant colors, whatever it is. Now, is it going to be great the first time? No. But here's what happens. If you insist, and I'm talking insist, that from this day forward, I will not allow myself to go down that very predictable track going nowhere. And instead, I'm going to insist on doing this instead, where that feeling is going to be there. When it does, I'm going to stop myself. I'm going to say something that's going to force me to wake up to not go down that predictable track. And I'm going to insert that beautiful image or picture that I have. Eventually what happens is you're sort of breaking up the power of that well-worn track that you have in your brain. And instead what you're doing is you're laying down a new track that is just so much healthier, more peaceful, more aligned with who you're becoming and where you want to go. And this takes practice, and it takes consistency, and it takes repetition. But can it be done? 100%. This is something I did personally that helped me tremendously. It's what people in my community do as just one of the tools that we use to help us heal and stop that negative tape loop. Because here's the thing, if you don't, you really can think the same thoughts the rest of your life. You have every right to. That's what you want. No one can stop you for it. You're justified. But you know what you have at the end of it? You have your story, and that's about it. But if you want to create something so much better, it takes doing something so much different and so much more different and so much more differently. So that's what I would suggest for now. Again, you and only you know when you've extracted the meaning from it. And once you've made sense and made meaning from that negativity, now it's time for something else. So I hope that helps, and see you next week. Bye-bye.